patch in here and join us later. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and call the November 3rd, 2025 special meeting of the Southeastern Public Service Authority of Virginia to order. First thing, if everybody would please rise, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, I understand we now have Dr. Ball online. So, Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Before we move forward, if they're on, is Ms. Ralston online as well?
Yes. Yes.
All right, they need to state the reasons for,
I was going to get to that right after we announced the quorum, but okay.
if they're participating in the meeting, we should do it now.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So do we have two members participating remotely, as I believe Mr. Ball and Ms. Ralston. Mr. Saunders didn't make it yet? Okay, so we have two members. Ms. Ralston, could you state your location and the reason for your participation remotely? Cheryl?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I now live more than 60 miles from the meeting site. I'm in Enrico, Virginia.
All right, thank you. And Dr. Ball, are you there?
Good morning. Yes, sir. Does my sound come across okay?
We can hear you. Can you tell us your location and reason for participating remotely?
I am on vacation. My location is 4305 Delta Sunset Beach Boulevard in Niceville, Florida.
Thank you for taking time out of your vacation to participate.
Yes, sir.
All right, so Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes,
Mr. Chairman. We do.
All right, so
Mr. Saunders.
in the area of public comment, okay, we now have Mr. Saunders, Lincoln Saunders has joined us. Mr. Saunders, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Could you state your location and reason for participating electronically?
Yes, I'm currently located in Kilmarnock, Virginia, responding to a pressing family matter.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so now we have, actually that's a unanimous, we now have all board members either here or participating electronically. Thank you very much for the effort it took on this special meeting. Under the area of public comment, I would like to remind our speakers that our policy is that they keep their comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Madam Secretary, do we have any speakers for public comment?
Yes, we have one in-person speaker, and that is Mr. Tim Stewart, which is the CEO of AMP.
Mr. Stewart, please come up and we look forward to hearing from you. There you go.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good afternoon. I'm here on behalf of AMP and our affiliate Commonwealth Sortation. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today. You know, we're genuinely excited about this project. It represents an important step, not only for SPSA, but I think for the entire region. This is an example of practical innovation and investment that positions SPSA to control its own destiny by extending the life of the regional landfill, more than doubling the recycling volume, and diverting over 50% of the material that would otherwise go to the landfill. You know, for the last 2 years, AMP has operated this technology daily, and most of you had the opportunity to see it. This project represents a scale up of this proven system, taking in the foundation and expanding that will serve the region. In fact, we've already begun local hiring and installing new equipment at our Frederick Road facility in anticipation of this contract. I want to take this time to recognize Dennis for his leadership. He's been steady, pragmatic, and really focused on outcomes, so thank you, Dennis. You know, we view this as a long-term partnership, not just a project. You know, SPSA is setting the example for communities around the region and around the country, and we're honored to be part of that journey with you. We're excited to get work and work on the next phase of this shared vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. So the next item would be chairman's comments, and what I'd like to do first is to recognize one of our valuable board members who will be her last meeting, Miss LaVonda Graham-Williams, who has represented Portsmouth for the last 4 years. It's her last meeting. After the end of this year, we'll be calling her Judge Graham-Williams. So I do have a resolution that I would offer to the board to recognize her many years of contributions, specifically the support for what we're doing today and all the effort she's put in to help us get where we are today. So the resolution of appreciation to LaVonda Graham-Williams in recognition of her service as a member of the Board of Directors of the Southeastern Public Service Authority. Whereas LaVonda Graham-Williams has served on the Board of Directors of the Southeastern Public Service Authority of Virginia, SPSA, as the ex officio representative of the City of Portsmouth from June 22, 2022 through November 3rd, 2025, and whereas her willingness to support the regional solid waste management programs of the authority with her knowledge, experience, and expertise has rendered an invaluable service to the citizens of the City of Portsmouth, Southeastern Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and to this authority, enhancing the quality of life for all. And whereas, with a feeling of sincere gratitude on this occasion, the Board of Directors of the Southeastern Public Service Authority of Virginia expresses its deepest respect and appreciation for her professional service to the authority and to the citizens it serves. Now therefore, be it resolved, with great pride, the Board of Directors of the Southeastern Public Service Authority of Virginia recognizes, thanks, and commends LaVonda Graham-Williams for her service to the authority and presents this resolution as a token of its esteem and orders a copy to be spread upon the minutes of this meeting, adopted by the Board this 3rd day of November 2025. May I have a motion? Have a motion by the Portsmouth representative and a second by the Norfolk representative. Is there any comment? Anybody have anything to say? Mr. McCoy.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and I want to say Judge Graham-Williams, it has been a pleasure for the last 4 years to sit beside LaVonda. She came in running. She's been a wonderful partner to work with, to represent the city. And I can't tell you that I could have had a better person to close out my career at the end of this month with the SPSA and with representing the city of Portsmouth. But LaVonda, you have been an awesome partner and an awesome winner for the city of Portsmouth. I thank you and I congratulate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, I would just quickly add that for those of you who might not know, the transition from, say, a city attorney to a judge is when they talk about taking information in, like drinking from a fire hose, that is really about as true a analogy as you're going to ever find. And the last 6 months, I'm sure, has been just chaos for Ms. Graham-Williams, and yet she has stayed with this and stayed with the board as we've had many important votes, and she's kept the Portsmouth agenda on track so that they would be approving this, which they have done. So I want to thank you for that, because I know how hard that must have been to squeeze all this work in with your wrapping up your job in Portsmouth and getting ready to be a judge in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So thank you. All right, if we have a motion and a second, if there's no more discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. How about Ms. Ralston? Did you say aye?
Aye.
Mr. Ball?
Aye.
And Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
All right, that's motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, very quickly, because I know we want to move this along, I want to remind everybody to turn in the executive director evaluation by December 1st, either to me or to Lynette Lowe, again, by December 1. For those of you who've already done it, thank you. And also, I want to remind everybody about the requirements of the cities to reappoint your members. All of the governor's representatives, even the ones that have not exhausted their second term, have to be reappointed, and new ones who have exhausted their term have to be reappointed by the cities. There is a process. I've sent that out to the board members. I've sent it out to the CEOs and the mayors and chairman of the Board of Supervisors of our members. If anybody would like me to send that again, let me know, or I'll probably send it out to the board members again. And if we haven't wrapped this all up by December 1, I'll probably start sending it out to your principals also. At that point, we'll get this meeting moving. Other I'm going to say is probably there's no more important meeting that SPSA has had in the last 10 years than this meeting. It's very, very important. We're on the verge of taking our landfill capacity from 35 years to 70 years. That is a momentous thing for this region, and I want to thank everybody who's been there. Who's been part of this, and all have, you all have been in this, bringing this along. And finally, I do want to recognize one key staff member for SPSA, who this is his last meeting. That's Mr. Henry Strickland. Mr. Strickland has been a member of SPSA for 25 years, and this is his last meeting. For 10 years, he has been the manager and superintendent of the landfill. Anybody who's ever been out to the landfill would probably easily say that it is one of the cleanest, most orderly, most environmentally sound landfills that you ever will find anywhere. That's all something that's the result of Henry's efforts. And also, I would point out that Henry has been a critical part of the evaluation and the selection process of our selected offeror for the for what we're moving forward with today, and he owns a major part of the success that has brought us here today. So Henry, I want to say thank you, and I wish this wasn't your last meeting, but thank you so much for 25 years of dedication to this organization. All right. Okay. All right. Yes, Mr. Hanson.
I'd like to say I worked with Henry when I was just an engineer with the city of Suffolk. Worked with him as the deputy to the public works director and as the public works director. I would just personally like to express my profound gratitude for all that you've done for this organization. I know the chairman said some very nice words, but I feel that maybe I know you in a different light. And I would also just like everybody here to know of your exceptional professionalism, your commitment to exceptional service, the ratepayers, the environment, and I truly believe this organization is going to miss you, and I personally am going to miss you, and I wish you all the best, Henry.
Mr. McCoy, did you have something to say?
Yes, I would just like to add to that Henry worked for me with the city of Portsmouth prior to coming to SPSA, and I've known Henry probably at least 35, 40 years, and he's only 44 years old. He is exactly what LJ just said. He is an exemplary employee. He has been honored with this organization. He loved it, still loves it, and we will miss him. Dennis will miss him, and I wish Henry Godspeed. Henry, Thank you, and God bless you.
Mr. Kiefer.
Yeah, I would add, when I came on the board about 10 years ago, Richard and I, one of the first things we did was went out to the landfill because there were a lot of problems out there. There was leachate building up in a landfill. Going around with Henry, half of the pumps didn't work. There was no maintenance, no way of keeping track of things. And Henry just come on board. And if you look at the way the landfill is run now, we have a SCADA system, a maintenance program replacement. The leachate problem is taken care of with a new leachate facility, and all of that and more is due to Henry's leadership out there. So he truly has done a wonderful job.
All right. Okay. Mr. Bagley.
I thought I would wait until after this presentation, but I'm going to go ahead and move forward now and I'll deal with it. Henry and I have been together for a long, long time. We've worked together in Portsmouth. He came to SPSA, and I followed behind him shortly after that. And not only is Henry a colleague, he's a dear friend of mine. And this is not expected for any of us. And we are going to miss him dearly, not just at work, but just as a friend. And I'm still going to be calling him as long as I can at midnight and unloading on him. And he never have one time when I've done that has he ever said, go to bed. He sat and listened to me until it was over with. And then he said, okay, we'll go to bed now. But I could call on him any time of day or night to do anything, and he was always there. He loves this organization. He supported this organization. He supported me as a person and as a friend for many, many years, and I'm grateful for that, Henry. You know I love you. I hope that things continue to go forward with you, and that your health is your number one priority now.
All right, well said. All right, Henry, we're going to miss you. Your contributions to this organization and to this region are going to last till the end of this century. Okay. All right, so we'll move on now to the Waste Supply and Services Agreement presentation. A copy of the Commonwealth Sortation Contract is at each of your seats. The Executive Director will provide a quick overview of the Waste Supply and Services Agreement and recommend that the Board approves a resolution for notice of intent to award. So turn it over to Mr. Bagley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A lot of this is going to be a review. We have made some changes. I'm going to go through a presentation, and then I'm going to ask Brad Nowak, our counsel, to go through a couple of small changes that are really not material to what you've already seen. You had a copy of the contract at our last meeting, and he will go through the few changes that we've made since that meeting so that everyone is on the same page before you act on this contract. First of all, I want to talk a little about the importance of maintaining capacity at the regional landfill. When we lose capacity at the regional landfill, we lose all ability to negotiate fair pricing on disposal. And so for that reason, capacity at the regional landfill is critical to the operation of SPSA. And as you well know, the last 5 years, we've gone through an EIS to permit an additional 109 acres of landfill space, and it's in wetlands. We were successful in getting that permit, but in the process of receiving that permit, we had to agree to the Army Corps of Engineers to forgo any future growth at the regional landfill. So we had cells 10, 11, and 12. We had to give up those cells. So we are at what we have now, cells 8 and 9 are the last cells that we can develop at the regional landfill. And with that gives us capacity through the year 2060 at our current capacity. We would be able to continue operating just like we are till 2060, but when 2060 gets here, there's going to be a major change in waste disposal in the region. We no longer have airspace available in the region. All of our waste would have to be transported outside of the region. Outside of the region at this point would be either Waverly or to Bethel. which is a waste management landfills, or to Republic Landfill in Brunswick County. The transportation costs associated with that and the inability to be able to negotiate a fair disposal cost would put our cost in, and this is a third-party consultant who worked on the EIS, said that in today's dollars, it'll be $125 in today's dollars in order to get some type of disposal capacity outside of the region. And if you escalate that to the year 2060, imagine what $125 is going to look like in 2060. So we could not just continue to sit on our hands and do nothing. We had to take some action. So as we plan for the future, the only real way to manage the future for SPSA is to ensure that long-term disposal capacity remains at the regional landfill by reducing the volume of waste that we're landfilling. We're currently, as you well know, our capacity, our volume that we are producing in the region is about 460,000 tons a year. We can cut that in half. You can imagine what that's going to do to the lifespan of the landfill. It goes from 2060 to 2095. So as we address the issue, this board directed me to put out an RFP on February the 5th of 2024 to provide some type of alternative waste disposal mechanism, and that did not include landfilling. Landfilling was not an option that was acceptable in that RFP. On March 27th, the SPSA board established an RFP evaluation committee to evaluate the proposals that we received. 6 proposals were received in response to that RFP. On July 24th, 2024, the SPSA board determined that there were that 4 of the proposals were non-responsive to the terms of the RFP and eliminated them from further consideration. At the same time, the SPSA board directed the evaluation committee to begin negotiating with competitive negotiations with both Repower South and Commonwealth Sortation. With the assistance of legal counsel and consulting experts, the evaluation committee held in-person meetings. We did site visits. We had Teams meetings, and we exchanged several iterations of a term sheet from each of the offers, and then we asked for their best and final offer. And once we received those on February the 26th, based on the recommendation of the evaluation committee and your own review of the documents that we had produced at that point, the SPSA board determined that Commonwealth Sortation was clearly more highly qualified than Repower, and directed negotiations to continue solely with Commonwealth Sortation. Throughout the process, committee and legal counsel regularly updated this board in closed session. I'm sure we'll all be glad if we don't have a closed session for several more years, as many as we've had over the last year. But they were very beneficial in making sure that what the committee was doing was the board was made aware of. Then staff made multiple presentations to our 8-member communities since February of 24 to ensure that they understood the challenges with disposal capacity and to share SPSA's vision for the future disposal options. We talked a lot about use of support agreements because we knew moving forward we would need to have long-term agreements with each of the member communities in order to be able to move into a contract with anybody for any long term. As of today, 7 of our 8-member communities have adopted amendments to their use of support agreements that will extend the agreements through June 30th of 2052, and the last community is expected to adopt that amendment, same amendment, on November the 18th of this year. So there's some facts I want to bring out about alternative waste disposal and how we're moving forward. First of all, the proposed waste supply and service agreement, WASA, with Commonwealth Sortation would nearly triple the region's current residential recycling rate of 7%. Mr. Stewart said in his presentation that it would exceed double. It's less than triple, so somewhere in that range, it's the same thing. The proposed WASA guarantees a diversion rate of 50% 20% of that diversion would come from removing recyclables from the waste stream, and 30% of that would come from organics. The proposed agreement provides performance guarantees with liquidated damages that would cover the cost of disposal if those guarantees are not met. Commonwealth Sortation will be targeting 16 different commodities versus the typical 4 or 5 commodities that you see in traditional recycling facilities. The proposed contract would extend the life of the regional landfill to 2095, and all 8 member communities will receive the same services at the same cost, which is a kind of a foundation of SPSA and how we operate. And the proposed contract would represent a private investment in Hampton Roads at an estimated $200 million. The estimated 5-year tip fee comparison that I've shown you multiple times will actually put the tip fee at about $15 more than what we currently pay tip fees once we get to full ramp. When we're bringing in less than the whole 460,000 tons, the tip fee will be $71 in 2027, and it would be $78 in 2028, and that's strictly because we're only bringing in the volume that we can that they'll be able to process, and we're splitting that cost across all of the member communities. There were some assumptions that we used as we worked through the cost analysis. One was that the contract would start in 2026, January 1 of 2026 is when it would actually be signed. The escalation for the current disposal rate was based on 3% increase. That's what we're currently doing. We just elevated the price 3% annually. The escalation for alternative waste disposal in the WSSA was based on a 2% annual increase contemplated in the contract. And the alternative waste disposal tip fee for FY 26 and 27, as I've already said, is based on the ramp up and the smaller volume of waste that would be able to be processed. And the cost per ton was rounded to the nearest whole dollar. Now, there are a few target dates for the ramp up. First of all, the first day of next year, if we execute a contract at that point, the first ramp date would be 5/1/26, the initial Frederick Boulevard startup, and that would be processing about 60,000 tons. Then in August of 26, Frederick would be at 100% capacity, and that would be another 60,000 tons to make 120,000. And then 7/1/28, the first ramp up of Victory Boulevard would start at about 165,000 tons. And then on 1/1/29, Victory Boulevard would be at 100% operation and add another 165,000 tons to give you the 660,000 tons or so that we would bring. But the full capacity at that facility will be about 540,000. So if we have growth, we have a place to take it. Our evaluation committee consisted of our chair, Mr. Leahy, myself, Henry Strickland, Michael Etheridge from Isle of Wight County, and Richard Broad from Norfolk. Those were the voting members of the committee. We had multiple consultants working with us, Bob Gardner from SCS Engineers, General Counsel Brett Spain, Wilcox and Savage. With Wilcox and Savage, we had Kevin Cosgrove, who was a procurement attorney, to make sure that we followed all the procurement rules. And then Bradley Nowak and Joe McCool from Williams & Mullins were contract attorneys, and we've worked with Brad for many, many years, and he was the one responsible for nailing down the contract. And at this time, I would first like to ask any of the members of the evaluation committee, Mr. Leahy, would you like to say anything about our work?
Well, quickly, I'll just point out that the evaluation committee had 5 people with substantial infrastructure experience and in engineering, in management, and in direct operations, covering all of the issues with respect to the proposal and solid waste management and disposal. And in terms of our consultants, We had additional engineering support, financial support, and legal support, also covering the broad swath of expertise needed for this selection process. To say that every I was dotted and every T was crossed is an understatement. They were. To say that this was a solid consensus is also a major understatement. I'm not going to go into anything voting beyond that. To just say that saying it was a solid consensus is a major understatement. Every recommendation and that we've made to the board, we were very comfortable with, and all on the same page. So I think that kind of sums things up pretty well.
Mr. Etheridge, would you like to say anything?
First, I'd like to say it was indeed a pleasure and honor to work with the committee on a project of this magnitude. As I stated before, over my career, I had many opportunities to review several programs that were aimed at reducing waste that goes into a landfill. And this project is by far the closest to a viable solution that I've seen in my entire career.
Mr. Broad, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would just echo the comments that Mr. Etheridge made. It was an outstanding opportunity and experience for me, and it was eye-opening to see that we could move this region into the 21st century and be a leader. You know, Hampton Roads gets a bad rap for not leading on anything, kind of following. Well, we're going to be the leader in municipal solid waste processing. So I was very excited to be part of this. Thank you.
At this time, I would ask Mr. Sorey. Chesapeake had their own review of the work that we have done, and I'd ask Mr. Sorey if he would report on their findings.
Sure, thanks, Dennis. Yeah, the city did hire a consultant to do a third-party independent review. That was performed by Niche Industries, LLC. Their principal, Alan Iantosca, is considered an expert in the field, having a long career in waste management in both the public and private sectors. So the findings stated that there were no fatal flaws found in the proposal and that the proposal and its technologies were sound, noting Commonwealth Sortation's 3-year operation in Portsmouth and their successful operations at their Cleveland Plastic Processing Center. The consultant interviewed a number of AMPS robotic staff, Commonwealth Sortation staff, and toured both facilities. And accordingly, our council adopted the resolution authorizing the manager to enter into the amended use and support agreement this past Tuesday.
This time, I'd ask if Bob Gardner would come to the table. Bob served as our consultant with SCS Engineers throughout the process.
You get a chance in life to do something significant. And as a consultant, you always want to work on generationally significant projects. And I think back to 2007 when I first got involved with the region, you were wondering what you're going to do when 2018 and beyond. And we did a study called 2018 and Beyond. We got to that point, 2015 came, and you saw, okay, we need to do something. So you issued an RFP, and as you recall, there was little fits and starts in terms of negotiating with one vendor, which wasn't successful. You ultimately made the decision to select Wheelabrator, and that was successful and got you through to 2024 when you learned they're going to close. Pretty significant deal. So you issued the RFP. And so for the last 2 years, we spent looking at various options, as Dennis indicated, in terms of looking at technologies, looking at companies to do projects. And we've come up with a solution that I think is innovative. It's not just a development project, in other words, compiling a bunch of technologies to make it work, but it comes from an innovation, thinking things differently and from the bottom up. And that's what I think impressed the committee most importantly, was the fact that it was innovative. It's coming from within and not just from without, and so that's significant. So it's been a pleasure to work with the executive director and the committee over the last 2 years, thinking through this process and discussing, and it's been intense. And so I congratulate that team in terms of ultimately coming to the place where we are today, and for all the various regional members here who have obviously thought about this long and hard and have made some good, I think some really strong decisions with respect to how you're going to process waste in the future. So again, thanks, Dennis.
Thank you, Bob. And this time, we presented a contract to you at your October meeting, and at that point, we told you we were finalizing a few points on the schedules, and some of those things that we worked through the schedules on required insignificant changes to the waste supply and service agreement that you already had a copy of. So before we take any action, I wanted to make sure that our council had an opportunity to go over some of the insignificant changes that we did make that are not part of the original agreement you have, but are part of the final proposed contract that's in front of you today. Brad?
Thank you, Dennis. Yeah, there was very few changes that were made to the agreement that was circulated to the board on October 3rd. First, we've clarified that Commonwealth Sortation is required to have the following processing capacities at the relevant facility at the relevant times. At Frederick Sortation Facility, from the commencement date to the ramp date, and which is going to be the date by which they'd be 100% operational, they would have 50,000 tons per year as prorated. After the ramp date, they would have 108,000 tons per year. At the Victory Sortation Facility, between the commencement date to the ramp date, they would have 216,000 tons per year as prorated. After the ramp date, they would have 432,000 tons per year. And finally, at the Victory Biochar Facility, and these capacities would apply to separated biochar eligible materials, which are the organics, between the commencement date to the ramp date, they would have 100,000 tons per year as prorated. And after the ramp date, they would have 200,000 tons per year. Additionally, we clarified that information that Commonwealth Sortation is to quote unquote make available to SPSA can be in person or via a secure data room and to SPSA personnel and third parties reasonably requested by SPSA. Additionally, we clarified that affiliates, the definition of affiliates, so that beneficial shareholders of the guarantor, which are either public companies or having assets of $250 million in assets under management, can be ultimate purchasing offtake agreement counterparties. Additionally, we clarified SPSA's rights to reject biochar that have not passed the relevant testing or is not permitted to be disposed of at the SPSA landfill. Additionally, we added that Commonwealth Sortation and its subcontractors coming onto any SPSA site, including the Victory facility site, are required to comply with SPSA's established emergency response procedures and attend an environmental briefing. Additionally, we've added a prohibition against the use of forced or indentured child labor consistent with Virginia Code Section 2.2-4311.4. And finally, we've added that Commonwealth Sortation is to renew its letter of credit at least 30 days prior to expiration of its term. That's it, Dennis.
Also, I will say to you this, that oftentimes with an engineering background, you have issues with legal advice sometimes, and you don't always want to agree with it. But I got to tell you, our legal team has done one heck of a job on this, and push back on me when they needed to push back on me. And we have a solid contract, and I'll tell you that Brett and I have really built a relationship especially over the last 2 years working on this contract, because he definitely keeps me squared away. Brett, do you have anything you want to add? You've been an integral part of this as general counsel with both Brad and Joe, who's in the back from Williams Mullen.
I would just repeat what everybody else has said, and I would also like to emphasize how much work Dennis did on this. I mean, it was, with everything else that's going on, the amount of time and attention it took for him to get us through this. We can write up the agreements, we can, put in the parts that we need to have, but the decisions that need to be made, the understanding of what needs to be done in this contract, that was all Dennis, and it was a ton of time and effort, and I really appreciate it.
This time, if there's any questions that any of the board members have to any of the members who've worked on this committee, we'd be glad to try to address them before we move forward. If not, staff recommends adoption of the following resolution.
So our general counsel, Brett Spain, will read the resolution. A copy of that resolution is at each of your seats. And at that point, we'd be open for a motion and a second, and then any final discussion and a vote. Mr. Spain.
All right, I already apologized in advance for the length of this, and I'm going to apologize again, but I will read through this, and if anybody thinks that I've missed something or misstated what is in the written version that's in front of you, please let me know, because we do want to make sure that that's accurate, but the version that is being proposed is the written one that everybody has at their spot. Resolution authorizing the issuance of an intent to award and upon satisfaction of certain conditions, award of a contract for solid waste disposal services pursuant to request for proposal, RFP 01-24, and other related matters. Whereas, since the closure of its refuse-derived fuel facility in Portsmouth in 2024, the Southeastern Public Service Authority of Virginia, open quote, SPSA, close quote, has disposed and continues to dispose of municipal solid waste collected from its 8 member communities, the quote, member communities, close quote, in the SPSA regional landfill in Suffolk, Virginia, and other private landfills, and with very limited exceptions, does not recycle, recover, and/or reuse any such waste. And whereas, based on current disposal levels of solid waste in the regional landfill, SPSA estimates that the available airspace in the regional landfill may be exhausted by the year 2060. Whereas, to preserve the capacity of the SPSA regional landfill and to pursue an alternate waste solution that will increase the recycling, recovery, and/or reuse of municipal solid waste in the region, on February 5, 2024, SPSA issued a request for proposal for solid waste disposal services, RFP 01-24, as amended, the quote, RFP, close quote, to establish one or more contracts through competitive negotiation for the acceptance and processing, recycling, recovery, reuse, and/or disposal of waste delivered by or on behalf of SPSA to contractors, permitted facilities, and for such contractors' facilities to serve as a designated disposal mechanism as defined in SPSA's strategic operating plan, the quote, waste disposal services, close quote. And whereas on March 27, 2024, SPSA's Board of Directors, the quote, board, close quote, established an RFP evaluation committee, the quote, evaluation committee, close quote, to evaluate proposals received in response to the RFP. And whereas on or before the May 1, 2024 due date, 6 offerors submitted proposals to SPSA in response to the RFP. And whereas on July 24, 2024, the board, 1, determined that 4 of the proposals were non-responsive to the terms of the RFP and were eliminated from further consideration. 2, selected Commonwealth Sortation LLC, quote, Commonwealth, close quote, and Repower South LLC, quote, Repower, quote, for further negotiations. And 3, directed the evaluation committee to conduct negotiations with Commonwealth and Repower in accordance with the RFP and applicable law. And whereas after July 24, 2024, with the assistance and advice of legal counsel and consulting experts, the evaluation committee conducted extensive competitive negotiations with Commonwealth and Repower, including multiple in-person meetings, exchanges of contractual terms, and on-site visits to facilities employing technology similar to the technology proposed by Commonwealth and Repower for the waste disposal services. And whereas on February 26, 2025, based on the recommendation of the evaluation committee and its own review of the negotiations, the board determined pursuant to section 2.2-4302.2A3 of the Code of Virginia and the RFP that Commonwealth was clearly more highly qualified than Repower to provide the waste disposal services, and directed that negotiations continue solely with Commonwealth. And whereas since February 26, 2025, SPSA's executive staff and legal counsel, with the assistance of consulting experts, have continued to engage in extensive negotiations with Commonwealth to finalize Commonwealth's proposal to provide the waste disposal services, which proposal has been formalized in a waste supply and services agreement, a copy of which, including all schedules, is attached hereto as Exhibit A, quote, WSSA, close quote. And whereas throughout the competitive negotiations with Commonwealth and Repower, and later solely with Commonwealth, the evaluation committee and legal counsel have regularly updated the board regarding the status of the negotiations with each offeror and the relevant terms and conditions of their respective proposals. And whereas the services to be provided by Commonwealth under the WSSA will assist SPSA in providing a vital government governmental service that will address an immediate and pressing need of SPSA's member communities given the limited remaining capacity of the regional landfill and are expected to result in substantial benefits for SPSA and its member communities, including a guaranteed reduction of 50% of the processable waste in SPSA's waste stream, a guaranteed recycling rate of 20%, which amount is nearly 3 times the current level of, quote, blue can, close quote, recycling in Hampton Roads, and an estimated extension of the expected life of the regional landfill by approximately 35 years. And whereas to pay for the services proposed in the WSSA and to realize the benefits from those services, the tip fees SPSA charges to its member communities to SPSA will need to be increased over the fees currently charged for disposal of member community municipal solid waste in the regional landfill. And whereas SPSA's executive staff estimate that if the WSSA is approved and executed, the tip fees charged to its member communities for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2026 will be $4 more per ton than would be charged if SPSA continued to dispose of member community solid waste in the regional landfill. And the tip fees charged to its member communities for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2027 will be $9 more than would be charged if SPSA continued to dispose of member community solid waste in the regional landfill. Collectively, the, quote, estimated increased tip fees, close quote. And whereas in anticipation of a possible award of a contract under the RFP, the board, one, on August 27, 2025, authorized the creation of a tip fee stabilization fund using surplus revenues from commercial waste tipping fees to serve, among other things, as a potential source to assist SPSA's smaller member communities to pay for the estimated increased tip fees for 2 years beginning on July 1, 2026. And 2, on September 24, 2025, authorize the executive director to execute and deliver to each of SPSA's member communities conditional amendments to the agreements for use and support of a solid waste disposal system, each and, quote, amendment, close quote, and collectively the, quote, amendments, close quote, currently in place with each member community, and which, if all conditions in the amendments are satisfied and the amendments become fully effective, would extend the term of the current agreements for use and support of a solid waste disposal system to June 30, 2052. And whereas the city of Franklin and the counties of Isle of Wight and Southampton, collectively the, quote, Western member communities, close quote, desire for SPSA to award a contract to Commonwealth to perform waste disposal services under the WSSA, but do not currently have the resources budgeted to pay for the estimated increased tip fees during the first 2 years under the WSSA, and in consideration for the support of the WSSA, have requested to receive a credit from the tip fee stabilization fund for each ton of municipal waste for which they are charged a tipping fee for handling by Commonwealth during the fiscal years beginning on July 1, 2026 and July 1, 2027. And whereas following due consideration of Commonwealth's proposal as embodied in the WSSA, including consideration of the analyses and presentations prepared by SPSA's executive staff and its advisors, and the terms and conditions of the WSSA, the board has determined that it is in the best interest of SPSA and its member communities to, 1, approve and issue an intent to award a contract, quote, intent to award, close quote, to Commonwealth pursuant to the RFP with respect to the waste disposal services based on Commonwealth's proposal and the WSSA. 2, if the conditions set forth herein have been met, then award a contract to Commonwealth pursuant to the RFP with respect to the waste disposal services, and authorize the execution, delivery, and performance by SPSA of the WSSA and related documents. And 3, if the conditions set forth have been met and the WSSA is executed and delivered by SPSA and Commonwealth, use the commercial waste tipping fees and the tip stabilization fund to fund the estimated increased tipping fees for the Western member communities solely during the fiscal years beginning July 1, 2026 and July 1, 2027. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of SPSA as follows. 1, based upon information and advice provided by SPSA's executive staff, legal counsel, and other advisors, including review and consideration of the terms and conditions of the WSSA, the board hereby A, determines that Commonwealth has made the best proposal and provides the best value, and B, approves, authorizes, and directs the executive director to issue an intent to award to Commonwealth based on its proposal and the WSSA in accordance with the applicable law, with such final award to be subject in all respects and in all circumstances to, and conditioned upon the conditions described in paragraph 3 below. 2, the board hereby directs SPSA staff to make available to the offerors who responded to the RFP the opportunity to inspect the proposal records relating to the RFP in accordance with applicable law, and to make the same records available to the public when and as required by applicable law, in each case at SPSA's offices in Chesapeake, Virginia. 3, after all of the following conditions have been satisfied or occurred, A, at least 75% of the member communities have executed and delivered their respective amendments to SPSA, and B, all applicable protest periods under the Virginia Public Procurement Act have expired, or if any protest or appeal is timely submitted or filed with respect to the subject procurement, following satisfactory resolution of such matter in SPSA's favor, as determined by SPSA's executive director in his discretion with the advice of counsel. Then, and only then, does the board hereby, 1, award a contract to Commonwealth pursuant to the RFP with respect to the waste disposal services, and approve, adopt, and accept the WSSA and all ancillary agreements referenced in the WSSA, and 2, authorize the executive director of SPSA in the name of and on behalf of SPSA to execute and deliver to Commonwealth the WSSA and all ancillary agreements referenced in the WSSA, such execution and delivery conclusively to evidence the due authorization and approval thereof by SPSA, and cause SPSA to perform all of its obligations under the WSA and all ancillary agreements. The board further specifically reiterates that SPSA shall have no liability or obligation to Commonwealth if SPSA does not execute and deliver the WSA for any reason whatsoever. 4, the conditions described in paragraph 3 above have been met, and SPSA and Commonwealth execute and deliver the WSSA as authorized by this resolution, then the board hereby authorizes, approves, and confirms that the Western communities shall receive a credit to be paid from commercial waste tipping fees in the tip fee stabilization fund in the amount of estimated increased tip fees for the fiscal years beginning on July 1, 2026 and July 1, 2027 as follows. A, for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2026, each Western community shall receive a credit of $4 for each ton of municipal solid waste for which it is charged a tipping fee for handling by Commonwealth. And B, for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2027, each Western community shall receive a credit of $9 for each ton of municipal solid waste for which it is charged a tipping fee for handling by Commonwealth. 5, if the conditions described in paragraph 3 above have been met and SPSA and Commonwealth execute and deliver the WSSA as authorized by this resolution, then the board directs the executive director to prepare and present to the board a proposed revision to SPSA's strategic operating plan that includes revisions necessary to permit SPSA to perform its obligations under the WSSA, including the designation of Commonwealth and/or the facilities described in the WSSA as a designated disposal mechanism. 6, the board hereby ratifies, confirms, and approves in all respects any and all of its actions with respect to the RFP and the amendments and those taken by SPSA executive staff or the evaluation committee prior to the date hereof, and authorizes and directs the executive director of SPSA in the name and on behalf of SPSA to do all such acts and prepare, execute, file, and deliver all such other documents, instruments, certificates, and agreements, each in the name of and on behalf of SPSA that he may deem necessary or desirable to carry out the intent and purposes of the foregoing resolutions. Adopted this 3rd day of November 2025.
We've had the resolution read. I'd entertain a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. We have Ms. Graham-Williams. Ms. Graham-Williams has moved, and Mr. McCoy has seconded to adopt the resolution. Is there any discussion? If not, we can take a vote. I think we ought to take a voice, individual roll call vote on this one.
Mr. Maxwell.
Yes.
Mr. Sori.
Yes.
Ms. Ralston.
Yes.
Mr. Saunders.
Yes.
Dr. Baugh.
Yes.
Mr. Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Kiefer.
Yes.
Mr. Broad.
Yes.
Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Ms. Graham-Williams. Mr. Parnell.
Yes.
Ms. Lowe.
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Hanson.
Yes.
So the motion has been unanimously adopted. Congratulations. You have all contributed greatly to the future quality health, safety, and quality of life of this region through the end of this century. Congratulations to all of you. If there being no more business in front of the board, any more additional business? If not, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Tom. Good job.